Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Agent Spotlight. And today I have someone who is Mr. Consistent, Mr. Steve Bender. So, Steve has been a Razor Ridge client for, well, a few years now, but more recently, you've gone through a lot of the updates and changes that have been made with Razor Ridge. But with that, it's brought you consistency. So, every single month we were doing 15 to 20K in APV. You haven't had one week where you haven't written an application. And your highlight for the last 12 months is that you wrote an $88,000 APV IUL from an MP lead earlier last year. So really happy and excited to have you here on, Stephen, because I think a lot of people can learn just about the consistency that you've managed to develop.
Yes, Steve Bender. I'm direct to Linda Chung, part of Scott and Kelly Summers, Kevin and Michelle Purdy, and the Linwood Watkins hierarchy. Really got started in January of 2021. And that was after almost 30 years in advertising. So I did the one thing that you should never do in 2023. I said I was leaving, but I never left. So I didn't put any work in. So I submitted $17,000 in APV in 2023. So it was not a really good time. So at the end of 2023, we're like, well, this isn't working. So I made the decision, along with my family, that we were going to give this another shot. 2024, I just rededicated myself, and it's been a much different career since then.
That's awesome. So what's been the biggest change for you? What changed for you to then get to the point now where you're doing, 20K is just a normal month for you?
Yeah, well, I would say a few things, right? I think being in corporate America for 30 years, like asking for help was kind of showing a sign of vulnerability that you just don't do, right? And I
Of
think I
course.
brought a lot of baggage with me. So I think the best thing that I did was I invested in a career coach, which really helped with my mindset. And I know we're going to talk about consistency. And then I invested in my business even when I didn't necessarily feel like investing in my business, as opposed
Mm.
to just invest in my business when the bank account allowed me to invest in the business, right?
So what does that look like? Everyone says you have to invest every week, regardless if you don't feel like it. If, like you say, your bank account didn't look like it. So what was that point for you where you just thought, bank account is looking tight, but I'm just going to spend the money to generate leads?
Yeah, it really comes to that you have to treat this business as a business, right? As I talk to like kind of new agents, I always use the analogy of like if you own a bakery, right, and you sell bread, before you can sell the bread, you need to, hire the baker, which is you. You need to invest in the ingredients, to make the bread. It started off as 500 a week, then 1,000 a week, and now I'm pretty consistent about 1,800 a week. I'm doing
Yeah.
like 20 mortgage protection leads, on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and I've seen that progression as well. So I was going to come on to your numbers where you started at, I think it was 10, then you moved to 15, and now you're at 20. And I
Yeah,
guess
well,
it's because
I'll hit the 30 button, but yeah.
yeah, truly Mr. Consistent. But that's what I love about what you're doing right now is that you're putting into practice what everyone thinks they should do but doesn't do. It's a business at the end of the day. You're going to have your ups and downs, but as long as you have a consistent process, you will eventually be profitable. But how much of that has been also the fact that the leads that you're buying, because you're buying your mortgage protection leads, how does that help you knowing how they're sourced and the other things that mean that you potentially have more confidence in hitting the numbers that you want to hit as well?
Without a doubt, and I think the efforts that you've put in the team, it's like night and day, and I feel like I'm almost shocked when I don't close somebody. What I love about
Hmm.
with the mortgage protection and with some of the qualified questions that you ask, yeah, and no fault of yours, but there's always going to be a few that slip through the cracks where maybe they haven't been completely honest, right?
Yeah.
But for the
Yeah.
most part, you're dealing with fairly healthy people,
Hmm.
and we know that yeah, the death benefit's important, but it's really what attracted them to the ads were the living benefits, right? So you know that already, and so that allows you to kind of focus a little bit more on their why, right?
Yes.
And then the other thing it's done, because we know these people are fairly healthy, it's really helped me kind of streamline the underwriting and really allows me to focus. There's really only about 3 or 4 carriers I really need to work with, right? Depending on their age. But that's been really, really helpful. Like even with some of the older leads where it's more of a kind of a critical period concept, I'm still
Yes.
I'm still using products with living benefits, right? And I'm able to get them a lot more coverage. So
Perfect.
that part's
No, I think, yeah, one of the things I've been trying to do, like, should I go as low as 70 as the cutoff point for mortgage protection? Probably not, because I know a lot of people sell really well the critical period element. And typically, the older you are, the more likely you're going to want to get some sort of coverage, whatever that looks like. So you'll have a more chance of closing. But I think what has helped, and you're kind of alluding to it, is these people are healthier, which means you have access to just more options that are aligned with who you want to work with. But also, there's that second element, which is the additional sales that you can make from that lead. If they're 55 or 40 or whatever, then that's a client for life. So you've got them in with the MP, maybe the term policy. Maybe you can sell them a DFL further down the line, or you can have someone reset that person. So talk to me about a bit more about the profile of people that you're getting in terms of age wise, and have you been able to also supplement with additional sales out after the initial sale?
without a doubt. And I live in New Jersey, but for some reason I do really well with the mid 50s to 61-year-old ladies that live in Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So keep sending me those ladies.
Yeah, I'll make sure we get them targeted on for
Yeah, yeah,
Stephen.
please do, please do. To your point, and I've always been, I learned this from Scott Summers and Scott Forehand. I've always been, um, I've always like bundled policies, right? Whether it's an accidental with a term or an accidental with a final expense or what have you. And because they're under age 70, right, you can do those sort of things. And so what I'm finding now is I'm bundling, so you're already getting kind of like 2 cracks at it, right? And that's number one. Number two, at that age, they either have smaller children or teenage children. So you're working on children's policies, or they have a mortgage, so they have debt, so you're
Yeah.
looking at a DFL, depending on where they are, maybe an IUL, things of that nature. So yeah, it's a really kind of a sweet spot. Typically run into some single people, but for the most part, we're dealing with families. So
Yeah.
there's always opportunities to write, even if it's the woman or the man saying, no, I just need coverage for myself. As you start
Hmm.
having those conversations, it opens up other opportunities. So yeah.
Perfect. And have you worked other lead vendors, leads before? And how does that differ as well?
Between my 2 stints, I probably have tried every lead type out there, and,
Okay. Oh
I
gosh.
would say find a lead type and stick with it, right? And don't make a decision based on a week or a month.
Hmm.
You gotta give everything at least 3 months, right? And what has changed, and not just specifically to Razor Ridge, but just digital leads in general. We always knew there were certain call blocks were best, right? Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But now in the world of digital, you have to be a little bit more on demand. I try to call them before the automation starts, and then if I don't get them, I'll let the automation, start. And then with the latest and greatest that you've added, where the client can tell you, "Hey, I'm ready to engage," that's phenomenal.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's so just for clarity for the audience, what you're telling me is you've worked other lead types and you've not really found your groove with them for whatever reason. But when it comes to our style of digital leads, you've managed to find something that works and just sticking with it. But talk to me about like the quality of the conversations. Like, are you using a script? Are you a salesman or are you like a consultant? Like, what's your approach on the phone?
It's definitely evolved. It's
Yeah.
definitely more conversational now. It's really asking more about what attracted them. Like, yeah, hey, you saw
Mm,
this ad, and you know, something registered to you that, hey, let me get some more information. So, and then I just pull out that why,
yes.
then just kind of understand their family dynamics, and then also still spend a good amount of time on the financial fire drill because I want to make sure that we find something that fits in your budget.
I like that because you're managing the expectation, but also preempting the potential chargeback opportunities, right? That's a
Yeah.
really good way to deal with these.
You continue to get better at your own craft, but I do firmly believe it also has to do with the quality of the leads. That when we write a piece of business, the business is sticking,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, you're still going to have some times where people, the insufficient funds type thing, you have to chase that. But for the most part, the business does stick, right?
Perfect.
Because they had a real need, right? And again, maybe I'm shortchanged myself, right? Instead of going for that, $5,000 a month policy, right? But I do find the business does stick. So
Yeah.
that's really
And
important.
and you're right. There's probably a mix of both. I'd say obviously underwriting properly makes that's your job, and doing that well is a big part of the puzzle. But also, I think the way I tee up who you are as an individual and how you're supposed to help them probably puts them more at ease that you're going to be solving their problem. I give them an issue that you can solve, then you solve it. That's that peace of mind that they're looking for. But you spoke about the updates, and it's good to have you on here because you've probably experienced every version of recent Razor, and so it'll be good just to get your at least flavor on, are these updates helpful that I do? Do you feel like they are adding value? Do they feel like they're making your life easier as an agent?
Yes, yes, and yes. Yeah, no. What I love about the relationship and you, Kim, there's a real partnership there. But what I love about it is, um, admin at the Razor Ridge. I know you're responding to me, and not only you respond to me, I'm getting a response like within like 2, 3 hours. It's not like days go by, right? And there's always an explanation.
Yes.
Um,
Yep.
but all the evolutions that you've done have been all for the betterment of the agents, right? Whether it's the qualifying questions, so we know we're getting quality people. And I think the recent updates, again, with there's nothing better than getting a text from a client saying, "Hey, I'm ready." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's perfect. I'm glad that's working out because I think what's been great, especially from yourself and many others, is that you're feeling the effects so fast. So the texting's only been out, what, less than a month. The amount of chatter about how great it's been for people's business, how they've been able to structure their days more effectively, and you're just able to deal with that individual faster than you may have done before.
Yeah, I think we're in a real sweet spot. What I will tell you, unlike previous lead sources, I would say 80 to 90% of the folks that I talk to at least engage in one way or another. And I do feel I do get quicker resolution
Yeah,
sooner.
that's perfect. So with our MP leads, I mean, we're very specific with how we target, who we target, when we target, and what we say, and the flow that we use. And it shows because you're able to consistently at 15, 20, 25K in APV, and you don't even question it. It's like clockwork now, if I put this in, I'm going to get it out. And that's where I hope everyone gets to
Yeah,
in the
well,
not too
the way I
distant
look at it
future.
too, if I write 2 apps and they place, that's paid for my leads, right? My goal is to write 2 apps as early in the week as possible, right? So
Yes.
now I can just all right, now I can work on my profitability.
Yeah, I guess mentally as well, it's quite good to know, all right, I've paid for that lead batch. Now it's how much can I make this week that can go to
Exactly.
whatever.
And those back end commissions are nice, right? And I love Razor, but it's also, I also still do policy reviews and go back to older clients, right? So there's different ways to just increase your profitability.
It's a good point, actually. And we've got to digress here, but it's something that I agree with wholeheartedly is how can you get the maximum, like how can you earn the maximum amount from your leads? And there's multiple ways. One is obviously you sell that lead directly, which you obviously do. Then you get the referrals, family, kids, whatever. So you add in additional policies, which you're doing as well. So that one sale might become three or four, maybe five or six with additional sales. And then eventually you got your policy reviews. Oh, let's introduce a DFL. Then you get a participating whole life that pays you every time that they add into the new insurance. Now you've got residual income, right? So
Exactly.
that one lead potentially could be tens of thousands of dollars in the future if you look at your numbers correctly. And I think
Yeah, and, and I learned this from, Linda Chung. I say a little bit different than Linda does, but some to the point, like, I don't look at, the relationship with my clients as transactional. Once you become a client, you're part of my life, right? So, you know, I will be checking in from time to time because sometimes life changes, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. So that may mean we have to revisit what we've done with you.
I love that. Another thing I wanted to talk about is what's your workflow? So is your workflow something that is rigid, or is it fluid based on how people approach you? Or
Well, it's fluid based on when the leads come in. So you have to be a little flexible in this business. Uh, you have to be a little more flexible with the digital leads, and that's what I love the phone app, right?
well, that's what you want is a, I think everyone sells this life insurance agent lifestyle as somebody who's got the time and freedom to go and do what you want, right? And so
Like, you
that's
have
what
to
we're
earn
trying to
that a little
achieve.
bit
You do definitely have to earn it for sure, but I'm hoping that at least what I'm providing is making your life easier so you can,
without a doubt.
try and spend a bit more time, doing the things that you love and enjoy, and not all your time stressing yourself out for no reason.
And, with between the technology and I say the quality of the leads, I don't need to dial as much as I used to, which
Hmm.
is helpful, but I've been around a while. So for the newer agents, right, you gotta put the work in
Yeah, of
because
course.
you need those repetition,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you gotta put the work in.
But how many dials would you say you make in a week versus what you were doing previously?
So previously, I used to do probably around 5 to 700 dials a week, and now I'm probably doing 150.
Whoa. No way.
Yeah, and I would say probably 65% of my appointments, the first conversation we're having is on that appointment because everything's over text. And so many people just wanna
Mm,
engage over text, right? And
yes, yeah,
and where I think I continue to evolve is, and again, I think kudos to you and the quality of the leads. I don't need to, especially over text, I don't need to ask a ton of health questions, right? Some just
yeah.
high level ones.
No, that's good. That's really good. I love what I'm hearing. Before I wrap it up, if you got anything you'd like to say to anyone who's maybe on the fence about working Razor Ridge, or you don't know where to start or how to get involved.
Yeah, well, I would say a couple things. Like, don't look at the what the cost per lead is, right? That's the bad way of looking at this, right? Look at what the
Mm,
quality of the lead, and I would say, as importantly, look at the partnership that um, you make yourself available to anybody, uh, and I think that speaks volumes to you and your team. So, I feel even when, and what I think speaks more volume about the partnership is the transparency when things aren't going good,
yeah,
right? Um, and so, anyone who's on the fence, I would just say in this business, you want to have true partnerships, right? And I would say between the partnership and the quality of the people we get to try to help are much better than anything I've seen in the market.
brilliant. I love
Yeah.
that. And thank you for your continued partnership. I think it's been a great road that we walked, and I'm sure there's many more years ahead of us of success. So appreciate your time.
Thank you, my friend. And thanks everybody. Appreciate you.